Huge result for Pierre Poilievre in Battle River Crowfoot as he wins with 80%. This is a massive win for Pierre Poilievre, or if not a massive win, a massive avoiding a huge loss potential. So I was very vocally critical about Pierre Poilievre running in Battle River Crowfoot over someplace, let's say Abbotsford. And my logic was like this. Battle River Crowfoot was the safest riding in the country. It got the most conservative votes during the last federal election at 82%. If you go to Battle River Crowfoot, one, it's Northern Alberta, so you're not in a major political dominated place, but the odds of you beating Damien Kirk or matching him are very, very, very low. Pierre Poilievre was in trouble or in danger of, losing 10 points off of his predecessor and looking bad. And it wouldn't have been his fault. It's just the nature of by-elections and all that. But Pierre Poilievre came out with over 80% of the vote, which means you can't slag him. Yes, it's down 2%, but that's way within a margin of error, statistical significance. It's over 80%. Pierre Poilievre sort of survives this. There's no criticism of Pierre Poilievre. No one can say Pierre Poilievre is unlikable or whatever because of this election result. So big win for him there. Now, the real big win for Pierre Poilievre is not in the Liberal versus NDP versus Conservative matrix and how is this going to play into the next federal election? Very minimally. What this actually does help, it does help Pierre Poilievre because this will definitely help him maintain his position as leader the next leadership review. This is going to be very important for him in the next leadership review because I was saying 60%, 60 something. If he got 69% of the vote, he would have been done. He would not have survived the leadership review. 70%, 70 something would have been pushing it, and over 80s, he's looking good. And my criticism of him is it's going to be very, 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 very difficult to hit 80s. And that's why he should have picked a different riding because it's going to be very, very hard to hit the 80s, but he hit the 80s. So congratulations to him. Now, the biggest thing this gives him, again, inside Conservative Party politics, because the next thing has nothing to do with Mark Carney, has nothing to do with Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, the left, the right, CBC. It's an internal party review. And what Pierre Poilievre has shown is that his presence is very, very good at keeping the right from fracturing. This will help him in a leadership review. Because look at the PPC. The PPC got less than 1% of the vote, less than 0.5% of the vote, 0.3% of the vote for the People's Party of Canada. This was like the great, it really shows the PPC is an utter failure as a party. They couldn't get at least 1% of the vote in a by-election where they're going up Pierre Poilievre, where they could have just, in a conservative, very conservative riding, they couldn't just got their act together and beat Pierre to the right and sucked away 2% of the vote. Like they couldn't even do that. So Pierre has a very good claim against the PPC, but also the Alberta separatist movement didn't phase Pierre Poilievre in this riding. Again, there was a lot of things that could have created this sort of perfect storm that would have got Pierre Poilievre, under 70% of the vote and then look bad on him. Had the Alberta independence movement really made a push in Battle River Crowfoot, that would have hit him. Then had the PPC really made a push, that would have stole some things. And then the longest ballot initiative with all these different independents and the CBC, pushing this Bonnie Critchley character, that could have all hurt him, not to lose the seat, but to push him below 70%, where it would have been a very embarrassing showing for him. And then that would not have done well for him. But you saw the sort of the Liberal establishment fail very hard in hitting Pierre. And the Alberta independence thing is very important too, because another downside that I pointed out about going to Battle River Crowfoot is you are now in this new Liberal government with the Western frustration. You're now in the center of what could be a schism between the Conservatives with an Alberta separatist movement sort of popping up and undermining Pierre. And you're afraid, like if you're a Conservative like me, you're afraid that if Pierre was in Alberta like that, he would have had to sort of manage the Conservative Party and the Alberta independence movement and sort of walk that line to keep his seat, which would then undermine him nationally, right? And the rest of the country. This would hurt him in the rest of the country. But now he can go into the convention and say, listen, fracturing the Conservative Party under my leadership is very, very unlikely because I didn't need to do anything. The separatists, I can keep the separatists in line. They're not going to make any noise while I'm here. The PPC isn't on issue. All the fracturing to the right will not happen under my leadership. So good for Poilievre. And I really hope he doesn't throw this away by mirroring the NDP's rhetoric on the Air Canada strike. Pierre, if you're listening, one, send Jenny Byrne on a direct flight to Amritsar. Okay, she's already out, just full on gone. But please, 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 please talk like a capitalist. Okay, you don't have to hurt, don't slag the workers. We're pro worker. Talk about how government taxes and overregulation and barriers to competition in industries like the airline industry put Air Canada and the workers and the country in a bad situation, and how detaxation and deregulation will actually make it a lot easier and provide better living conditions and better negotiating conditions for both Air Canada and the employees like the flight attendants. Please say that. Please say that. Let the NDP talk about communism and split the left. Please, 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 please do not turn into a socialist for the next 2 months to win quick brownie points that will hurt you later. Please, 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 please. All right. Now that's gone. This is a massive failure for the Liberals. Massive failure for the Liberals. I thought the Liberals would be much smarter than this, and they had a real chance to take Poilievre out here if they really wanted to do that. But I think they misplayed their hand. The longest ballot initiative, I actually think, helped Pierre Poilievre get to the 80% because it might have demotivated people. People had to write names in, so it wasn't just a checking a box. So it was an extra hurdle. I think the underhandedness in which the political establishment attacked Pierre here actually motivated the Conservative base to kind of vote for Pierre, to stick it to the CBC and these lefties who are trying to interfere in their riding, right? So it took people don't like the parachute candidate. So, you have this parachute candidate from Ottawa coming into Alberta. Oh, he doesn't get us. But the fact that you saw, the interference from Ottawa, the heavier hand from Ottawa was really on the Liberal side, pushing from the CBC. So that sort of covered Pierre's, parachute strategy. And listen, leaders parachute into easy ridings. This is fundamental of a parliamentary system. Like, again, everyone's done this. So not a criticism on him there, but the criticism was he went to the very safest riding. That's going to be very hard to top. But he matched. He got in the 80s. So it's a very strong thing. I think Mark Carney, because Mark Carney sort of in a trap for him, right? By Mark Carney, I'm getting him back in the office and letting him go pretty soon. If Carney was going to do this, his trap, if I was Carney's advisor, I would say you needed to get Poilievre into the 60s. And the way you could have got Poilievre into the 60s is you shouldn't have had the longest ballot initiative coming. Have a few independents like Bonnie Critchley talk about the parachute candidates, and then really just push the Liberals and NDP. Just do good politics, maybe even help the PPC and the Alberta independence movement. Just do legitimate politics. Have all the parties sort of make a good showing, have the Greens sort of push everyone to do there, and bring Poilievre down below the 70% threshold. So it's at a 6, right? He went from 8s to 6s. That would have really hurt his image. And then the Liberals could have sort of really, really had the upper hand on Pierre Poilievre. He would have come into Parliament in a very weak position to Mike Carney. But that was all flop. He's actually coming in a pretty decent position. And Carney is on the back foot. I mean, he's had Canada shut out from major meetings. We're losing international standing. He's just hanging out with Doug Ford every day. So if Pierre Poilievre can fix his Doug Ford problem, Conservatives are actually looking very, very strong coming in. Now, there isn't another election for the next 3 years, and the Liberals will probably, Mark Carney will probably just not call an election and ride this out for the 4 years as it stands now. But good job, Pierre Poilievre. Avoided potential disaster in Battle River Crowfoot, and not only avoided disaster, was able to carry out of there some pretty good things for himself. Primarily the fact that, one, let's put this, he can prevent the right from fracturing. This will be his main pitch and what his people will be saying going into his leadership review, which is mandatory when you lose an election. So it's going to happen. But he can use this in saying, listen, separatism, PPC, fracturing, right-wing splits, I can keep this all from happening if you keep me in the driver's seat. And Pierre, in order for that to work, you cannot start talking about communism. You can't talk about the big, beautiful supply chain. You can't talk about government bailouts of the dairy industry. You have to talk like a capitalist. If you continue to be a capitalist, you will do well. If you start to talk like a socialist for random brownie points because Jenny Byrne ran a focus group, you are going to lose again. So capitalism, good. Socialism, bad. I can't believe we have to explain this to the Conservative Party of Canada. I can, but you do, and that's the way it is. So congrats, Pierre. Did well. Conservative Party can actually have some momentum going in now. Mark Carney is on the back foot, thought he'd be on the front foot here, but good luck, Canada. And please, 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 Jenny Byrne, direct flight to Amritsar.